For our first step, I'm gonna measure out the flour, and I don't have a scooper, so I'm going to use a regular spoon. And this is a 3/4 measuring cup, 3/4 of a cup measuring cup. So this is the amount of all-purpose flour needed for both recipes. Okay, so now that it's overflowed, I'm just gonna go over the top like so. I'm also gonna take a picture now. Okay, I've done the one of all-purpose flour, and now I've just done the one with all-purpose and the whole wheat flour, which is what I chose to use. And my immediate reaction is that the whole wheat flour is more like powdery and less like clumpy, like it's more fine, I think is the way to describe it. So now that my water is heated, I'm gonna move on to the next step with the yeast and the salt as well. Okay, now that I have all of that measured out, I'm gonna take all of the all-purpose flour and mix that in with the salt and the yeast. And I'm gonna mix that with my whisk since I don't have a food processor. Okay, that looks good. Okay, I'm gonna mix in the olive oil, the water, and the honey, if it wants to come out of the teaspoon. And I'm going to use my hands and my spoon, my strong spoon, since I don't have a food processor at home. Just put those to the side for now, since we're gonna be using those in a second. So I'm gonna use my strong spoon to mix all of those together. Oops. Okay, so after mixing it all together, I definitely needed a little bit more water, but I added some of that, and now I'm going to knead it for the next 10 minutes before I put it into the bowl with the nonstick spray. Okay, now that I've set the first batch of dough to set, bless you, for an hour, I am going to take my pre-measured flour with the all-purpose and whole wheat mix into my bowl, as well as the second measuring of yeast and salt. And now I'm going to just use my whisk again, and I'm going to mix that up real quick. Okay, that looks good. Okay, now I'm back putting in my water, my olive oil, and my honey. And I'm back going to use the strong spoon to get all of that mixed up together before I begin kneading. Okay, so my first reaction to the wheat dough is that it is much stickier than the original dough, and also now kneading it for the first time, it feels much softer and more like malleable, if that makes sense. And then I also had to add more water again, so I'm not sure if I'm just misreading the measurements, but it came together much more sticky, like it's sticking to my fingers more similarly to the video that explained how we should knead than the original batch with the all-purpose flour. Okay, both doughs are now sitting in their respective bowls, and the original batch still has about 40 minutes. It hasn't quite doubled. It's definitely growing a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm going to clean up some of those dishes and put the ingredients away. Okay, now I've done I've rolled out the dough to make it rectangular. So now I'm just gonna take this little guy and roll it into the snake, as mentioned. Okay, so this is our first snake. Okay, now that I completed all of the like all-purpose flour ones, I've moved on and repeated the process with the wheat dough because I found that this one rose a lot faster, which could be worth noting, or rather expanded in the in the nonstick bowl. That one expanded a little bit faster. I also found this one was a little bit stickier when I tried to roll it out, so it needed just a little bit of flour to get it going. So now we've got our first snake with the whole wheat flour. Okay, so the oven is preheated and I've allowed the breadsticks to puff up a little bit. So I'm gonna put those in and I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes for me to rotate the trays. Okay, so now both sets are out of the oven and they are on this cutting board because I don't have a cooling rack. And I've tried both of them, and definitely even visually you can see that the ones with the whole wheat flour are like a lot more like bubbly, for lack of a better word, or like textured on the outside, whereas the like all-purpose flour are much more like smooth, and then on the inside they're really like soft. And then the whole wheat ones again are like interior wise much more bubbly. And I also find that the whole wheat ones are much more crumbly, even though they're all a little bit like wider. The whole wheat ones definitely like are a little bit like easier to fall apart and stuff. So yeah, but they're both super great.